Oh there, many people are missing 3F, the artifact that Belian is pretty well known for nowadays, also known as Empty Throne on the non-collab version. And because of that, a lot of people don't know how to build Belian. So this is sort of the build that I use, and this is what I'd recommend. So this is Protection Set, HP Set, and Aureus. What's nice about this build of Belian is honestly, you're just playing a really good knight that happens to have, you know, Belian passive. So it just makes your team pretty healthy. Um, and you don't put too much pressure on the Belian itself because without 3F, really, it's not really easy to make Belian do damage. AoE attacks nowadays are pretty punished, whether it's, like a Setsuka or even a frieren, because without 3F, it's really hard to kill a frieren with Belian. So just CR pushing all the time is not great. So that's why, counter plus like counter plus Elbrus or something isn't the best in my mind. But this is just really reliable. Picking this means you don't have to pick another tank so that your units stay alive, while still getting the passive to stop their soul burns, which usually is enough. One of the nice things too about this one is you're able to run HP set. This is because you don't actually build around her abilities, it's just the passive. So unless she's sealed, she's doing her job. So you don't really care if she gets stunned, slept, or whatever. The only real debuffs that kind of suck that when you get tagged by are like Venom or something, but it happens. Um, and that's why every other build you're gonna see on Belian does need um, immunity set. And so first off, if you're grinding weakening set, this is a set you could try out. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this set because it's more for if you really don't have to pick your Belian all the time. You can afford to just not pick it when it's not amazing. But this build specifically is good at or cleansing buffs from the opponent. So that's the idea of this build. And there's two ways to build this. At this speed tier, you actually can't afford to run Aureus. The whole idea behind Weakening Set is that your skill 1 is a 65% chance to dispel. I don't love attacking too much. With Weakening Set, it's an 80% chance to strip. So I sort of like that because you're not over investing in the attack, so that if you do get punished, it's not too big of a deal. You're still, actually, it feels like your Belian is actually doing something. If you want to go Aureus, you have to go Speed Boots, um, which loses you a lot, depending on how good your gear is. You usually will lose a lot of HP doing this. But for every single Belian build, your stat priority is always going to be number 1 HP and then number 2 defense. The only thing that changes is your third and fourth. So with this build, uh, you're building at least 100 effectiveness, and you know, if you're going speed boots, if you're going Aureus, you want at least like 200 speed. And if you're not going speed boots, then you don't care about speed, and you'd rather put that in like effect resist or something, or just more HP, of course. Um, so yep, this build it's a little more experimental, but it's a nice like in between build for me because I don't feel comfortable going like all in on counterattacks and really caring about Belian counterattacking too much, like a counter set. Because to me, it's just too risky to make her counterattack all the time because there's so many units in the metagame that counterattack, and a lot of units in the metagame that counterattacking. So if you overinvest in it, you're either gonna get counterattacked back by a better person who does more damage and you're just enabling them, like Setsuka, or you're gonna get punished by like the Setsuka or CR pushers or you know whatever. Mm, if you need your Bellion to do a little bit of damage, I do think injury set is the way to go because um, you only needed to go a crit necklace and you're basically there on crit chance, and that's all you really build in terms of damaging stats. You then just build tanky as you normally would, and the whole idea with this is to just slowly do a little bit of damage. Um, just pretty nice that you're able to do it so easily. So something like this. Your first stat is still health. Then you need to make sure you have a 100% crit chance. And with this build, you want speed boots and Elbrus. Um, if you can get 200 speed, that's pretty good, but you still need to have like I'm actually like I probably wouldn't build this for me because my gear isn't so great. And that's the really hard part with this is that injury set is kind of hard to build because you want a little bit of speed, but unlike weakening set, you don't actually get speed in your sets. Um, so yeah, if you just happen to have the gear for it, it's possible. Um, but yeah, it's pretty stat hungry and requires pretty good gear that most people don't have, honestly. Hello there, and I'm just cutting this in because I spent a little bit too long, in my opinion, talking about Injury Belian. I don't think it's that good. It's really gear hungry and, you know, doesn't do the most damage. There are a lot of characters like Estelle that I ended up mentioning originally, and just Frost that do damage based off their HP. Um, or just making those slightly too tanky units like a Ruel of Light or Lady of the Scales, being able to kill them a little easier is pretty nice, but yeah, it's just not super recommended. It's pretty hard to build and is not as impactful as you want it to be for something so hard to build. So with that out of the way, I also want to cut this in just because of the fact that I want to talk about what I want to do here. So I just think in Epic 7 there's a lot of really cool units that don't get a lot of spotlight because, you know, I think a lot of players have been playing for a while, so they sort of know what that character does from a few seasons ago, but it's not as powerful anymore, so they don't use it. But as someone who joined the game a lot more recently, like just over a year ago, there's a lot of characters that are just really fun to think about theorycraft and try to find matchups where they actually are playable in. I mean, like Amiki's like coming back into the meta, but honestly, Amiki's always been a pretty decent unit just to have geared, because dealing 5,000 plus fixed damage is pretty nice with the various twos. So yeah, sort of just wanted to put this in there. And cheers. Have a good day, and feel free to come back if you feel like it.